watching France24. It's time now for our daily look at the international papers. Helen Papper joins me now in the studio. Good morning, Helen.
Good morning.
I'm guessing that Lebanon is dominating the papers everywhere, starting perhaps in France.
It is. It's dominating the papers. Most papers are focusing on the assassination of the anti-Syrian Lebanese deputy Antoine Ghanim. And the French paper is looking, the Figaro does talk about it quite a bit. They talk about the political motivation behind the assassination. There are 4 anti-Syrian deputies in parliament, and what they're saying is that if they all disappeared, the deputies close to Syria and Damas would have the upper hand. And so this may be speculative, yet analysts in the Figaro, but as well papers around the world, seem to agree. They agree that this seems to be the goal. And so what do we do next? It's a bit of a chaos, and so the Lebanese paper is calling on their citizens not to give up hope. And they have an editorial there in L'Orient du Jour, as we can see. It's got a full page nearly entirely dedicated to Ghanim's assassination. There's an editorial written by Michel Hadji Georgiou, which really puts the situation in context. What they're saying is that it's written as a general speech, like a general would talk to his troops, telling them not to give up. They say, well, yes, it's really hard to deal with death, and yes, this is one more hard take to deal with, but it's time to get up and to go vote and to think of the future of Lebanon with the elections on November 24th.
Another story getting quite a bit of attention, of course, is Israel's decision to increase the pressure on Hamas by declaring Gaza hostile territory. What does the press make of that?
Well, the New York Times, the Washington Post, as well as papers around the world do talk about that. The American papers tend to focus on Israel's decision to declare Gaza a hostile territory before the arrival of Condoleezza Rice, the state secretary. And so they look at Rice's reaction. Rice has not officially condemned Israel's decision, and that's creating a bit of a controversy, and it's being picked up in the Jerusalem Post. There's an editorial in there warning Israel and the United States that this decision may not be so good and that it might backlash on Israel, because they're saying that basically by not condemning this action, it's putting Hamas again in the position of a victim and convincing people to join the Hamas. It's also taking away Mahmoud Abbas's political power, and Condoleezza Rice is meeting with Mahmoud Abbas, the leader of the Palestinian Authority, today, and the fact that he's accepting to meet with Rice and that Rice has not condemned the attacks is leading this journalist to say, watch out, be careful, the consequences might be.
Right, Helen, you promised us something about the end of Yugoslavia, but it's only on the internet. We don't need to worry too much. Tell us about that.
The end of Yugoslavia. Well, obviously, the end of Yugoslavia was in 2003, but it wasn't reflected on the internet. And so that's quite interesting, because we have, you know how in the UK, if you go to a UK site, you write .co.uk or francesite.fr. Well, we did have up to now .yu for Yugoslavia, and the Econ, which is the big internet organization which deals with the names and appellations on the web, they finally voted that .yu was no longer going to exist, and by September 30th, it should no longer be. So we're going to have now Montenegro with .me, and for Serbian National Register, we're going to have .rs until we figure that out. And we don't know how long it's going to take for that change to happen. If you do a Google search for the Soviet Union, there are still 3 million sites using .su.
Thanks, Helen Papper, for that press review. We'll all be checking our internet sites furiously later this morning. Thank you very much. Stay tuned to France24.